Welcome, listeners, to The Forgotten Feast, a tale of unspoken debts and memories of a Thanksgiving tradition that doesn't just celebrate gratitude, but turns it into something far more costly. In a small, forgotten town nestled in the quiet forests of Maine, people gather every Thanksgiving for a unique ritual, a feast unlike any other. It's here, in this village that's not found on any map, that Thanksgiving holds a weight darker than the comfort of family gatherings and pie-filled tables. This Thanksgiving, we meet Lydia, a young woman who arrives here by accident, hoping for a brief escape. But what Lydia finds is a nightmare disguised as gratitude, a darkness bound to memories long forgotten, and a tradition she'll wish she never stumbled upon. Lydia drives through a seemingly endless forest road. The daylight is dimming, and she realizes she's missed her turn off miles back. She's been driving for hours, trying to outrun her own memories, the echo of a broken relationship, fractured friendships, and a family that has grown distant. She came out here to get away, to hide from the world, just for a while. But now, in the fading light, her surroundings seem stranger, almost unreal. Her gaslight flickers on, and she sees a sign up ahead. Welcome to Morgan's Hollow. A relief, she thinks, hoping she'll find a gas station, maybe even a place to eat. She pulls into the town center. Despite it being Thanksgiving, there's an eerie quiet. Lights are on in the buildings, and she notices a quaint little diner with an old-fashioned neon sign that reads, "Join us for Thanksgiving. Bring what you're thankful for." She chuckles to herself, thinking the message was quaint, but soon realizes that the diner is her only option for warmth and a meal. The minute she steps in, Lydia feels a weight in the air, like she's crossed an invisible threshold. The other patrons, mostly townsfolk with tired eyes and weathered faces, pause mid-bite, their eyes lingering on her for a second too long. She senses something strange, something unsettling, but she brushes it off, convincing herself it's just her imagination. The hostess, a woman with an almost unsettling calm, leads Lydia to a small table near the back. She's greeted with a warm smile, though it doesn't quite reach her eyes. "You're just in time," the hostess says in a tone that carries a note of finality, "for the Thanksgiving feast." Lydia nods awkwardly, shivering slightly as she settles into her seat. As she looks around, she notices that every person at a nearby table has something in front of them that looks odd. A tarnished locket, an old, cracked photo, a faded ribbon. They're not just decorations. Each item looks worn, as if it's been clung to tightly for years. The patrons, noticing her gaze, seem to look down at their items with a strange reverence, as though offering up part of themselves. As the first course is served, Lydia chats with a woman sitting nearby, an older lady named Mrs. Halloway. She explains that every Thanksgiving, people from the town gather to give thanks, but it's not like any Thanksgiving Lydia's ever known. "Every Thanksgiving we come here and release something," Mrs. Halloway explains, her voice lowering to a whisper. "We call it gratitude, but really, it's more than that. We leave behind pieces of our pain, our memories, our loss. It's a way of moving on, of letting go." Lydia raises an eyebrow, slightly unnerved but intrigued. "And what's with the items?" Mrs. Halloway's gaze darkens. "These aren't just items, they're symbols, mementos of what we're grateful to be rid of. We bring what we've carried in our hearts, what haunts us, and give thanks for the chance to leave it here." The words send a chill down Lydia's spine, yet she dismisses it as superstition. She thinks of her own baggage, a necklace she's worn since she was 16, a gift from someone she loved but who eventually abandoned her. Without quite knowing why, she takes it off, setting it in front of her plate. The meal continues, and Lydia finds herself increasingly uneasy. She notices that as each person makes a toast, or whispers a quiet thank you, something strange happens. A man across the room lifts his drink and toasts, muttering, "Thank you for taking her memory away." As he lowers his glass, Lydia watches in horror as his face seems to grow lighter, almost translucent, his eyes hollowing out. He slumps back, looking drained, yet oddly peaceful. One by one, the townsfolk seem to shed a piece of themselves, offering their pain to something unseen. It's unsettling, mesmerizing, and she can't look away. Her unease grows as the clock nears midnight, and she's filled with the overpowering urge to leave. But something in the air, the weight of the tradition, or maybe the way the townsfolk glance at her, holds her in place. Then, without warning, the lights dim. A hush falls over the room, and the hostess speaks in a voice that's barely more than a whisper. "The hour of thanks is upon us." Suddenly, Lydia's necklace starts to feel warm, almost burning against the table. She gasps, reaching for it, but as her fingers brush the chain, memories start flooding her mind, her heartbreak, her regrets, the loneliness she thought she'd left behind. Only now, they're sharper, almost amplified. It's as though her pain is being drawn out, intensified, laid bare. The hostess approaches her, speaking softly, almost sympathetically. "You came with nothing to offer but yourself, Lydia. You brought pain without the gratitude to let it go. In this town, we don't allow that. You must either give thanks or carry the weight." As the final words sink in, she realizes her mistake. She tried to escape her past without ever acknowledging it. In her desperation to forget, she failed to appreciate the growth, the resilience it had forged in her. But it's too late. Lydia tries to scream, tries to stand, but she's paralyzed. The necklace pulses with heat, glowing softly, and she realizes she's not just remembering her pain, she's reliving it over and over. It consumes her, and as the room begins to fade, she feels herself unraveling, her memories being siphoned away. The townsfolk watch silently, their faces blank, yet oddly relieved. She is taking on all that they have left behind over the years. In that moment, she understands. Every Thanksgiving, a new guest unwittingly carries away the collective sorrow, anger, and loss of Morgan's Hollow. This is the town's true Thanksgiving tradition, a dark cycle of transfer and release. As Lydia's form begins to fade, her last thought is one of understanding. She has become part of the feast, forever bound to carry the town's pain. And so, the town of Morgan's Hollow gives thanks once again, their burdens lifted, their hearts lighter, for another year. But somewhere, just beyond the veil, Lydia waits. A silent testament to the dark cost of forgetting gratitude. Remember, listeners, be careful what you wish to forget, lest you find yourself in Morgan's Hollow on the night of the forgotten feast.